Tom Bombadil is already in the series. So that's my theory. My theory is that they're going to retcon the Stranger, and they're going to use the Stranger and say that, well, we already had Tom in the series. And the reason I say that is, if they're actually going to do that, the character that would make the most sense in terms of what they've been doing with the writing would be really the character they already have in the series. So why would they want to, for example, change and add a brand new character that the audiences don't know? If they're smart and they wanted to introduce Tom Bombadil, they would just segue and retcon the Stranger into Tom Bombadil and say that the behavior that he exhibited in the first season is along the lines of Tom Bombadil. And I'm going to drop a couple of the clips here to show what I mean. So if one, for example, thought that Tom Bombadil's behavior in Tolkien's work was quote-unquote suspect, or that Tom Bombadil at different points in time might exhibit negative behavior, then the idea that Tom Bombadil, for example, could be mistaken for Sauron, that might be something that, and once again, I'm just basing this on what they've done in the Rings of Power, that would have a better explanation in season 2 for some of the things that happened with the Stranger in season 1. Now, is that really what should or should not be done? That I'm not saying, but I'm saying if they wanted to do something, they could just use the Stranger. For example, using scenes like this in flashback and saying, well, he was mistaken for somebody negative because he's such a powerful entity, yada, yada. And they could retcon the Stranger because they haven't said that the Stranger was actually Gandalf. They could just say, well, we already had Tom in season 1. And I suspect, based on all the different things that they had the Stranger doing, that they would most likely do that in season 2 if they wanted to introduce Tom Bombadil as a character. I don't know that that's the best idea. I do know that based on what they've been doing, I would not be surprised if they actually did that. And if you reflect on what's actually said in the poem by Tolkien, you could say, well, hey, maybe that's where they're going with the Stranger's behavior.
No, that's not how you...
On the other hand, this very last scene that we have with the Stranger is very Gandalf-esque. And so that would kind of fly in the face of the whole Tom Bombadil's theory. But that said, it's still a solid theory despite this actual Gandalf-esque scene.
Now that it comes to it, my feet feel heavy as iron. Not to mention I haven't an inkling which way to go.
Oh. There it is.
Are you sure?
Not entirely. There's a sweet smell on the air this way.
So if I were overproduction, I would just steer clear of Tom Bombadil based on some of the things that actually came up or the reaction in season 1. But I don't really necessarily mean that that's what's going to actually happen. Where I think that they're actually really going to struggle, or they're going to have problems if they do introduce the character in season 2, is just the way that they write and their characterization of, for example, going back to Galadriel, the way they turn a cherished character into a one-dimensional kind of, I don't know really what to say. And the reason why I struggle to, I don't know what to say, is I don't really want to say some of the same stuff that I've said before. They struggled with Galadriel, so how would they really handle Tom Bombadil? Because Tom Bombadil is even more of a complex character. How are they really going to handle it? Another take would be that the Stranger actually is not Tom Bombadil, and that they're going to introduce another brand new iteration or a new person that will actually play Tom Bombadil. Now, based on what I've seen that they've been doing up until now and the writing that they've been using, or lack of writing, depending on where you hit on that side of the fence, I would think that they would really sort of like struggle, because Tom Bombadil, based on the poem, is a quote-unquote a character that very beloved character, and then there are certain things or aspects of the poem that I don't really think for 2023 they would really be able to put it on the screen in a way that would not have people mad upset. I don't really see how they would. And the reason why I say what I just said is that I feel like, based on a lot of the quote-unquote virtue signaling that they have done heretofore, they would really sort of like be attempting to do that with Tom Bombadil, and that would probably not go over very well for them. If they thought that they had a lot of like pushback previously from the fans, they would really even have like the kind of pushback that they've never ever seen up until now.
Would happen and it was would happen and it was would happen and it was
It's Middle Earth, there's never peace.
And here's a recent reading that I did of the whole poem about Tom Bombadil. Oxford Magazine in 1934. This poem was later included in a poetry collection of the same title in 1962. Tolkien was inspired to create the character of Tom Bombadil by a Dutch doll belonging to his children, long before the Merry Fellow's inclusion in The Lord of the Rings. So old Tom Bombadil was a merry fellow. Bright blue his jacket was, and his boots were yellow. Green were his girdle, and his breeches all of leather. He wore in his tall hat a swan wing feather. He lived up under hill, where the withy window ran from a grassy well down into the dingle. Old Tom in summertime walked about the meadows, gathering the buttercups, running after the shadows, tickling the bumblebees that buzzed among the flowers, sitting by the waterside for hours upon hours. There his beard dangled long down into the water. Up came Goldberry, the river woman's daughter, pulled Tom's hanging hair, and he went a wallowing under the water lilies, bumbling and swallowing. "Hey, Tom Bombadil, whither are you going?" said fair Goldberry. "Bubbles you are blowing, frightening the finny fish and the brown water rat, startling the dab chicks and drowning your feather hat. You bring it back again. There's a pretty maiden," said Tom Bombadil. "I do not care for waiting. Go down, sleep again where the pools are shady, far below willow roots, little water lady." Back to her mother's house in the deepest hollow swam young Goldberry, but Tom he would not follow. On knotted willow roots he sat in sunny weather, drying his yellow boots and his draggled feather. Up woke Willow Man, began upon his singing, sang Tom fast asleep under branches swinging, and a crack caught him tight, snicket close together, trapped Tom Bombadil, coat and hat and feather. "Ha, Tom Bombadil, what be you a-thinking, peeping inside my tree, watching me a-drinking, deep in my wooden house, tickling me with feather, dripping went down my face like a rainy weather? You let me out again, old man Willow. I am stiff lying here, there's no sort of pillow. Your hard crooked roots, drink your river water, go back to sleep again, like the river daughter." Willow Man let him loose when he heard him speaking, locked fast his wooden house, muttering and creaking, whispering inside the tree, out from Willow Dingle. Tom went walking on up the withy window, Under the forest eaves he sat a while a-listening. On the boughs piping birds were chirping and whistling. Butterflies about his head went quivering and winking, until gray clouds came up as the sun was sinking. Then Tom hurried on, rain began to shiver, round rings spattering in the running river. A wind blew, shaking leaves, chilly drops were dripping. Into a sheltering hold old Tom went skipping. Out came Badger Brock with his snowy forehead and his dark blinking eyes. In the hill he quarried. With his wife and many sons by the coast they caught him, pulled him inside their earth, down their tunnels brought him. Inside their secret house, there they sat a-mumbling. Ho, Tom Bombadil, where have you come tumbling? Bursting in the front door, Badger folk have caught you. You'll never find it out, the way that we have brought you. Excuse me. Now, old Badger Brock, do you hear me talking? You show me out as once, I must be a walking. Show me to your back door under briar roses, then clean grimy paws, wipe your earthy noses. Go back to sleep again go back to sleep again on your straw pillow, like Fair Goldberry and Old Man Willow. Then all the Badger folk said, we beg your pardon. They showed Tom out again to their thorny garden, went back and hid themselves, a shivering and a shaking, blocked up all their doors, earth together raking. Rain had passed, the sky was clear, and in the summer gloaming, old Tom Bombadil laughed as he came homing, unlocked his door again and opened up a shutter. In the kitchen round the lamps moths began to flutter. Tom through the window saw waking stars come winking, and the new slender moon early westward sinking. Dark came under hill, Tom he lit a candle, upstairs creaking went, turned the door a handle. Ho, Tom Bombadil, look what night has brought you. I'm here behind the door, now at last I've caught you. You'd forgotten Barrow White, dwelling in the old mound, up there on hilltop, with the rivers of stones round. He's got loose again, under earth he'll take you. Poor Tom Bombadil, pale and cold he'll make you. Go out, shut the door, and never come back after. Take away gleaming eyes, take your hollow laughter. Go back to grassy mound on your stony pillow. Lay down your bony head like Old Man Willow. Like young Goldberry and Badger folk and borrow. Go back to bury gold and forgotten sorrow. Out fled Barrow White, through the window leaping, through the yard, over wall like shadow sweeping, uphill wailing, went back to leaning stone rings, back under lonely mound, rattling his bone rings. Old Tom Bombadil lay upon his pillow, sweeter than Goldberry, quieter than the willow, snugger than the Badger folk or the Barrow dwellers, slept like a humming top, snored like a bellows. He woke in morning light, whistled like a starling, sang, "Come, dairy doll, Mary doll, my darling." He clapped on his battered hat, boots and coat and feather, opened the window wide to the sunny weather. Wise old Bombadil, he was a wary fellow. Bright blue his jacket was, and his boots were yellow. None ever caught old Tom in upland or in dingle, walking the forest paths, or by the withy window, or out on the lily pools and boat upon the water. But one day Tom he went and caught the river daughter, in green gown flowing hair, sitting in the rushes, singing old water songs to birds upon the bushes. He caught her, held her fast. Water rats went scuttering, reeds hissed, herons cried, and her heart was fluttering. Said Tom Bombadil, "Here's my pretty maiden, you shall come home with me. The table is all laden, yellow cream, honey comb, white bread and butter, roses at the windowsill and peeping round the shutter. You shall come home under hill, never mind your mother. In her deep weedy pool, there you'll find no lover." Old Tom Bombadil had a merry wedding, crowned all with buttercups, hat and feather shedding. His bride with forget-me-nots and flag lilies for garland was robed all in silver green. He sang like a starling, hummed like a honey bee, lilted to the fiddle, clasping his river maid round her slender middle. Lamps gleamed within his house, and white was the bedding. In the bright honey moon, badger folk came treading, danced down under hill, and old man Willow tapped at window pane as they slept on the pillow. On the bank in the reeds, river woman sighing, heard all barrel white in his mound crying. Old Tom Bombadil heeded not the voices, taps, knocks, dancing feet, all the nightly noises. Slept till the sun arose, then sang like a starling. Hey come, dearie doll, merry doll, my darling. Sitting on the doorstep, chopping sticks of willow, while fair Goldberry combed her tresses yellow. So, yeah, that was the original poem, Tom Bombadil.
After all you have endured, it is only natural to feel conflicted.
Conflicted?